Today we got Keith E. Turner with us, the 6th Ward Alderman of Waukegan, and an independent candidate for mayor in the upcoming election on April 1st. Thanks for hanging out with us, Keith.
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad to be here. Looking forward to the conversation.
So, where are you from, and how'd you end up in Waukegan?
Wow, yeah, that's that's an interesting story. So, I am from Chicago, Illinois. I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, and we have a lot of Chicagoans here in Waukegan. So I think it's important that we make that distinction. I'm south side, right? But yeah, so I joined the Navy right out of high school. In fact, I dropped out of high school 25 days before graduation so I could join the Navy back in 1975. I spent 7 years in as an operations specialist, worked in the operations intelligence divisions aboard ships, and did some base security, shore patrols. Really very interesting and varied assignments in the 7 years. And it's unusual that I rode several ships, but I also had several shore stations. And I was stationed in California. So I came of age, if you will, in my 20s in Northern California in the U.S. Navy. And then I stayed out there after I left the Navy in 1984. I stayed in California until 1992, and I lived in several other states, including, Nevada and Las Vegas, South Miami, Indianapolis, and then Minneapolis, and so forth. So, but I ended up in Waukegan. I came up I was living in Chicago, came up to Waukegan or North Chicago for appointment at the VA, and I met my now wife, Sonia Hurst, and we kind of started dating. A couple of years later, about 7 years later, whatever, I asked her to marry me, and I relocated to North Chicago. And once we were married, we bought the house in Waukegan in October 1999. That's how I got to Waukegan.
Now, some of those things that you did in the Navy, has that shaped very much who you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. Even today, many years later, I will slip into Navy speak, and I'll start talking about bulkheads and decks and gee-dunk, which is candy and snacks, right? In the Navy, we call it gee-dunk. So, but I sometimes slip into Navy verbiage. And one thing it's really that it becomes obvious to a lot of people is my I'm focused on getting things done. You got to get things done. I'm action oriented. Got to get it done. And time is of the essence. Everything has a sense of urgency. I cannot stand to be late or for someone else to be late. But for me, in turn, if I'm late for anything, it's a terrible thing for me. It just crushes me. So if you're on time, you're late. And I always try to be early, right? So that's one of the things is timeliness and a focus on getting things done. Also in the Navy, and I think probably holds true for all branches, but I mean in the Navy, we are planners. We plan to the nth detail, and we are super redundant. Everything's got a backup plan. Sometimes you got a tertiary, second, third, and fourth backup plans. You have alternate methods of doing the most common things, right? And then there's very detail in, how do you shine your shoes? How do you tie your shoes? Very detailed. And then, of course, that carries on through larger operations and projects, if you will, which kind of led me, it suited me, that training in the Navy, those experiences in the Navy, laid the groundwork and made it easier for me to transition into civilian life, and where I wound up as a consulting project manager in the cybersecurity and IT infrastructure realms. And that's kind of where I made my living.
Now, Keith, so after you got into cybersecurity and IT, like how did that get you into public service? How did you go from getting to Waukegan to Navy, cybersecurity, and now public service?
Well, the IT, my making a living had nothing to do with my entry into public service, politics, and so forth. What had happened was I bought my house in October of 1999. And in the spring, I think we get the property tax bill in May, April, May, whenever it is, in the spring. And my wife had given me that tax bill as I went out to work that morning. She said, you got the property taxes coming up. I said, yeah, whatever, right? So I went to work. On my way home, I opened that thing, the letter, and I was driving home and I was reading that property tax bill, and I was, oh my God, what is this? I didn't even know nothing about property taxes. As I turned onto my street, I noticed that they didn't paint the yellow curb. I've told this story numerous times. They didn't paint that yellow curb. And I was like incensed. I was like really ticked off that I had to pay $6,000 in property taxes, but they didn't paint that yellow curb. And so I asked a friend of mine, his name was Jack Potter. Jack's gone now, but I said, Jack, why am I paying this money? He says, well, you should go to City Hall and find out. Go down there and ask them. And that's what I did. And that is what kind of started me on this path of my political interest in local politics. And there's my focus. I focus on local politics. You very rarely will I speak to anything related to state or national politics. I'm solely focused on what's going on, what's happening in Waukegan and around Waukegan. It impacts the residents of Waukegan.
Is this also how you got into being the alderman?
Yes, absolutely. So, when I went down to City Hall, I introduced myself to my alderman, Mr. Larry Tempest, and Larry ultimately spent 43 years in as an alderman there in 6th Ward, and but he kind of blew me off. Yeah, young guy, get out of here. He didn't have any interest in talking with me, so I went back to a second meeting. And it was in that meeting that, this would have been in June of 2000. I went to my second council meeting, and I distinctly remember sitting there thinking, man, these guys don't know what's going on. They don't even know. I'm going to run for alderman. And 3 years later, in 2003, I first ran for alderman against Mr. Larry Tempest, and I didn't know anybody in Waukegan. I didn't know anything about politics. I didn't know anything about anything, but I was convinced that I could beat this guy, and I got slaughtered. So, but that wasn't enough, because one of the things that was instilled within me by my mother and in the U.S. Navy: we don't stop, we don't quit, and we never give up. So 2007, I came back again. Larry beat me even worse the second time. But, and after that, he and I became fast friends over time, and he became my mentor of sorts. And, but our friendship was we had very close relationship. But so, fast forward over the course of many years, I ran for several offices. And ultimately, I was elected in 2019 to be the 6th Ward Alderman, with Alderman Tempest's blessings, and our friendship continued until his passing a couple of years ago.
So, Keith, being the alderman, or being alderman in the 6th Ward, what's your favorite thing about being the alderman right now?
I love being the alderman. I got to tell you, man, it is the most awesome job. It's everything. And what I love about it is I am so closely and directly connected to my neighbors. And my neighbors call me, text me, email me, knock on my door. They stop me in the street. They flag me down when I'm driving. And it's just amazing the relationships that I have with so many of my neighbors in the 6th Ward and now across the city. So because when I think of it, people tease me about it, my wife especially. Uh, I'm hyper responsive. If someone calls me, I will stop what I'm doing and I will get my car. I will go see them. I want to see what they see. I want to talk with them directly, and I'm focused on getting things done, problem resolution, I make 2 promises. Not that I'll get it done or fix your problem, but that I'll make the effort to find a solution to a problem or an answer to a question. Those are the promises I make, and I'm committed to that, and that's what I do. And because I do that, then I do get things done. I help solve problems. Sometimes people just need someone to talk to. They just want to vent, and I'm there for that too. I tell them, hey, I'll give you 5 minutes. You can just yell at me if you want, but at the end, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to hang up. So, but yeah, I love being the alderman, and I'm going to love being the mayor. I'm telling you, I'm really looking forward to this. I'm very confident, and I feel very good about the.
So that actually leads me to my next question. Why did you decide to run for mayor?
So, all right. So, as alderman, once I was elected in 2019, it was very shortly thereafter that I began to see that all of those things that we citizens and residents complain about with government are actually true. I mean, there's a lack of communication internally and externally. There's a lack of customer focus. Things are not done expeditiously. There's some shenanigans going on. A lot of information is being withheld. You don't know what's going on. You don't know who to talk to. People aren't answering the phones or returning the emails. You go down to City Hall and you can't get an answer. You can't get a meeting. It's all of those things that just make it very difficult, challenging even to live or interact, I should say. It's easy to live in Waukegan, but to interact with the city government is sometimes very difficult. I'm running for mayor because I think we need to better focus to prioritize on resolving issues that most immediately and directly impact the residents of Waukegan, the residents and the businesses in Waukegan. We are not business friendly, and we're not friendly to our residents. The government is city government, local government, is not, as a generality, very customer focused and solutions oriented. And it's very problematic for many of our citizens and residents. And that's why I'm running for mayor, to get things done.
So Keith, how will your experience help make Waukegan even better for businesses?
Well, I worked in corporate America for in a long time. More than 35 years I've been in corporate America. And I've learned many lessons, and I started from the ground up as a technician. And so I've been a technician and an engineer and analyst and all of those things, and then graduated and I became a project manager, right? So now I manage technicians and engineers and analysts and others. And I'm very competent in project management and leadership, right? So what I will bring to the office of the mayor is an understanding of how we need to communicate and build teams within internal communications and structure and organization, and externally in being customer focused. And I think of our residents as customers of the city, right? Although the city should be the employees of the residents, but I think you understand where I'm going with this. So we need to be more responsive. and better communicate and focus on problem resolution. And as you probably know, it's often easier. The easiest solution is right down there at the bottom. It might just be a simple matter of some direct communication or facilitating communications to get things done.
Now, Keith, you also said before that there's too much red tape, right, for businesses.
Mhm.
Can you go into that a little bit?
Absolutely. So one of the most, not one of the number one, the most consistent complaint that I hear, and other aldermen, I think other aldermen, many of them will attest to it as well, is how difficult it is to do business with the city, right? And that pertains to regular residents, just any resident having to get a permit or something for, fixing a driveway, repairing a roof, putting in a fence, or maybe they've gotten a citation for something related to their property that needs to be repaired, ordinance violation, and they've given a timeline on to get it done, but they can't get the permits, they can't get answers to their questions, they can't get a meeting. There are too many hindrances to to allow businesses and citizens and to function, to interact with the city, get the permission slips they need from the city and the sign-offs and get things done. So when you apply that scenario to a business that's trying to come into Waukegan, or you've got a existing business that wants to expand, businesses, all these businesses operate on a very thin margin, and time is of the essence. Here in the Midwest, in Waukegan, our construction period is very limited, right? So we don't do a lot of construction like now in November, December, January, over the winter. It's all done spring and summer. And, we need to make it easier to do business. So one of the things I would like to do is go to a system of instant permitting. And this is how it will work. Right now, we have a registry, if you will, of certified contractors. Those contractors, be it paving or carpentry or plumbers, electricians, who are certified, they're authorized, they're licensed to do work in the city of Waukegan. The city maintains that list and they pay a fee and all that stuff, right? So and those contractors are required. They have to be journeyman level, have so much experience, have insurance and other qualifications and requirements. So if they meet all of that, and they are knowledgeable of, let's say, international standards organizations, rules for, how you have to install a wall or a drywall or something. They know what they're got to do. They've been doing it for years, and they agree, they promise to follow those guidelines, right? Then let's let them do it. So if you call in a contractor to put in a new wall, new electrical, new flooring, or whatever, and that contractor is certified with the city of Waukegan, he or she or they should be able to go online and apply for, push the button and get a permit to start work. And then if there's additional information that the city needs beyond the basic of what they're requiring in that initial application process, you can get that on the back end. But we shouldn't have to wait 8 or 20 months to start a freaking project, right? We can get a project started right now. Another element of that process I would like to see is random inspections. So you get this instant permit. Well, that doesn't mean you're just off the hook and nobody's going to look at you. We would do random inspections, and some of this, we'll have to think about how we would implement it, right? So how we choose randomly, but maybe we run a little ball in the little basket or something, but we run random inspections, and the contractor agrees and will be notified that, hey, if you fail this inspection because you were taking shortcuts and you didn't do something you knew you're supposed to do, then you'll get a suspension of your license for some period of time.
So actually, this leads me into one of my final questions. People want to talk about infrastructure, and one thing in particular is roads.
Yes, yes.
What are you going to do about the roads?
Oh, glad you asked. So I have a plan for that. You know, often I talk about plans and ideas, and there's a difference between plans and ideas. So I have a plan for the roads. Two things. Washington Street corridor is a disaster, and it really needs to be resurfaced from Green Bay to at a minimum, from Green Bay to Lewis. I would like to see it resurface all the way through to Grand. Not Grand, Jackson. So that would be a primary focus of mine. And here's my idea. We go to the county and say, hey, county, that's your street. Please resurface it. County says, no, we ain't going to do it. We'll say, well, you know, you do 80% or you pay 80% and we'll pay 20. We'll even do it up front and you can reimburse us the 80%. We'll manage the project. We'll bring in the contractors. We'll get it done. That would be my idea. First, the county should do it. It's their street. But if they won't, then we should partner with the county to get it done. We have to get it done. If that second option doesn't work, I would then ask the county to give the street, all of Washington Street to Waukegan, and we'll take care of it 100%. And if that doesn't work, they say, now we're going to keep it, but we're not going to fix it. Then I'm going to go fix it, and then we'll send them a bill. But we're going to get it done off the top, okay? The next thing that I would like to do is something that we suffer from, we battle with every year, year in and year out. You know it's coming like clockwork. That's the annual pothole crisis, right? And I've got a plan for that. We're going to defeat the annual pothole crisis. I think it's just a matter of dividing the city into 4 quadrants. We'll bring in paving contractors, road crews, and so forth, or however you term them, along with or in conjunction with our public works guys. And we'll set 4 quadrants and we'll assign crews in each quadrant and we'll task them with patching potholes on every street in Waukegan. They got to drive every street. Maybe they drive down the street or a block and there is no potholes, but they're going to go down and not only to patch, but to inspect. And so they can patch all of the north-south streets, and then they go back and patch all of the east-west streets. And the goal being to have every pothole in Waukegan patched by the end of June each year. So we start in May for the entire month of May, June, absolutely by the end of July. There's no reason why there should be a single pothole left by the end of July. Right. And if we do that and maintain that system annually, you will find that the pothole crisis has been really mitigated, possibly alleviated.
Now, moving on to my next question,
Yes,
which we're almost done here,
Yep.
is a really important one. Your first day as mayor, what's on your to-do list? First day.
First day, coming in the door, we are going to open that Waukegan City Hall to the public. We're going to get rid of the guard desk down in the lobby. There's no more guard desks. We're going to unlock the elevators so you can have access to the second floor, to the mayor's office, right? You know, just as an aside, last week I was in the lobby and there was a gentleman I had met previously, I was acquainted with. I knew who he was. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? Well, he was waiting. He was waiting in the lobby, not even a chair to sit in, but he's waiting in the lobby for someone from the mayor's office to come down the elevator to talk with him and see what he wants. And he had a meeting with that lady right there in the lobby. And I'm standing here talking. When she got off the elevator, he and I are standing here talking. She walks right up. Hi, are you here? And so he's having this, it was very unprofessional and not conducive to doing business with the city. So I'm going to take a different approach. We're going to open up the lobby. We're going to open up the elevators. You want to come up to the mayor's office, you get to talk with me or someone in the mayor's office, the staff in there, but you'll have direct access. You'll be able to get up to the planning and zoning office. planning and zoning and economic development. How do you have economic development if your developers can't even come talk to the economic development department? Well, I don't know. Also, the building department, code compliance and building department, they're up there too. Right now, you don't have access. Now, that might not be problematic if you could communicate, but often phone calls are not, the phone's not answered, voicemails are not returned, emails are not replied to. You can't get a meeting, and we're going to change that. When I'm elected, we are going to open for business. Waukegan, we're open for business.
Now, that was my last question. Now, do you have any last words for the folks of Waukegan? Maybe something I didn't get a chance to ask you?
You know, a couple of things real quick. One, early in my administration, 2025, I want to get some focus to beautification of the major thoroughfares, the gateways into Waukegan, Washington, Belvedere, Grand, Lewis, sure, all of them. I want to make sure that there's no weeds. A pet peeve of mine is the weeds and grass growing in the curb line or on the sidewalks. We have crumbling curbs. I want us to look nice on our major thoroughfares. That's going to be a top focus. Also, we need to think about maybe some unusual, unique, different ideas. And some of these ideas that I have have been given to me by others. And that's what I mean by interactive feedback and collaboration and being open and engaging with the public. So some of these ideas I have I've taken from others. Or were given to me by others to take them. Accessing the down to the lakefront, more direct access, right? So people talk about building a bridge over there or building some kind of parkway. I think we could get away with maybe a cable trolley car or a monorail that would take us from, excuse me, Washington and Genesee, over the Amstuds, over the railroad tracks, and down to the harbor, maybe even all the way around to the beach. So I know, but it's worth thinking about. What do you got? I'd love to hear from from some of the residents on what their ideas might be, but it's something I think could be done relatively inexpensive compared to building an entire parkway over those infrastructure, the Amstuds and such. But so that's one thing. And then I've got some ideas for, I'd like to have a race week in Waukegan in conjunction with our scoop in Genesee. And that could entail, airplane race, boat race, triathlon. Years ago, we had a triathlon event. It was training for the Chicago Marathon. I'd like to bring that back, bicycle races. I would love to have a dog parade and a dog show. How many people have ever seen a professional dog show? But we have thousands of dogs here in Waukegan, and I would love to have a dog parade. And also, I would like to see if we can get a U.S. Navy ship, a warship. We have thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people that come to Waukegan and to this region every year. And how many people have seen a U.S. Navy ship? Let's get a warship. Years ago, I was on the board of directors for the USS Connolly Museum and Memorial, and our mission was to bring a retired Navy destroyer down to Waukegan, to the North Pier. That kind of got poo-pooed on and it went away. But it's kind of some of those things that I'm thinking about. We need to think beyond the norm. I am not status quo, as you can tell. I'm sure you can see that, right? I'm not the status quo politician. I'm enthused and anxious and eager to engage the citizens, businesses of Waukegan to make improvements, to address issues that impact us all directly. And I want to get things done and turn this city around. I'm running for mayor as your independent candidate on April 1st, 2025 election. I'd be honored to have your vote, and I commit to you, it is my oath to you that I will get things done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Keith. And thank you to everybody watching. I want to wish you the best of luck on April 1st.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Bye.
Remember, your voice matters, so make sure to vote.